Before we get on to adding graphics, we're going to save our project. I know we haven't done much, but it's good to save it now. So when we've done some work, we can just click on the save. We know it's gonna save correctly in the right place, and everything's going to be fine. So at the very top, we've got the menu. We go to Menu, Project, and then Save. Okay, Menu, Project, then Save. What that should do is it brings up a box. Now, I'm already logged into OneDrive, but you'll basically be prompted to choose one of these, Dropbox, OneDrive, or Google Drive. You're going to use your OneDrive, your Office 365 OneDrive folder. Um, you should have a folder in here that says Digital Technologies. Make sure that you save it in that folder. I haven't. I'm not quite as organized, but basically we're going to call it Float Up Game, and we're just going to click save. So when you do that process, you might have clicked on the OneDrive and kind of nothing happened. What you need to be aware of is sometimes the pop-ups are blocked on your browser. And so in the top right-hand corner, when you've clicked on OneDrive, you might see something kind of do some kind of weird thing in the top right-hand corner, just around here maybe. And basically it's just a pop-up, the login for the office.com login pop-up being blocked. So you just click on there, always allow from construct pop-ups. Basically, that's what you need to do, and that will solve your problems of logging into OneDrive. If it doesn't work the first time, just kind of close that down, go to menu, go to projects, go to save, and it should prompt you again. If you've saved successfully, what you should see, what you might have just seen there, is basically it just kind of saved. Nothing popped up, no box popped up, because it already saved in a certain place, which means that it now knows where it's going to save again. So in future, all you need to do is click on this save button, and in the background it will save. It should show up a little kind of, if you've made some changes, it should show up a little kind of slide in. We might try and make that happen again, save, and it should, there you go, OneDrive successfully saved. So just bear in mind, you don't have to go through the process of naming it again. You've done it once, you never have to do it again. You should never save it somewhere else. Okay. Right, so we're going to start adding our first graphic. So we'll start with adding the balloon. So in here, this is our layout. So we can move between our tabs up here. Now this is the layout one. So in layout one, we're going to double click on the white background. That's our layout. And if we scroll down this list, we've got Sprite. Okay, so I scroll down that list to find Sprite. What I can do, I can just start typing Sprite, and it only shows what I've started typing. Now I haven't typed the whole thing, but it's shown up Sprite anyway. So I'm going to click on Sprite and I'm going to name it. So this one is Balloon. Okay, so the Sprite that we're going to create now is called Balloon. So it's good to name it as you go along. If we don't name it as we go along, it's going to be Sprite 1, Sprite 2, Sprite 3, Sprite 4. And I promise you, it will be an absolute nightmare. You won't have a clue where you are. Name your sprites, name your objects as you go through. Okay, so this one's the balloon, and we're going to insert that. So it gives us a crosshair cursor. We're going to click anywhere. Just click, and when we click, it just brings up this picture editor, this image. It's actually called an animations editor because we can add animations. We're not actually going to add any animations in this, but basically we're going to load the balloon in. Now you'll have been provided the files for your game. You can also go and download your own graphics, but for now, please don't do that. Please use the graphics you've been provided. When you get towards the end and you have much more, when you have an understanding of Construct, then you can start changing the graphics. For now, do not change the graphics. You will run into problems and you won't know how to fix them. So just use the graphics you've got. Okay, so we've got, basically you'll move through maybe on your OneDrive, or maybe you've saved them locally to your desk, to your laptop. Either way you've done it, you'll either go to your downloads or you go to your OneDrive. Mine are on my OneDrive. We're going to click on Balloon, and then we're going to open that. Okay, so what that's just done is it's loaded that graphic into our editor. Now I'm going to zoom out a little bit. We've got the zoom buttons up here, so I'm just going to zoom out a little bit. Now what we can see is I've got this collision polygon selected. Now you might have other things selected, but what you need to do is you need to go to the collision polygon, and the collision polygon sets out the area that is going to be sensitive to collisions in the game. And the only thing we want to be uh, kind of sensing any collisions is the actual balloon itself. We're not really interested in the string. So all I'm doing here is I'm just picking up the image points, the collision polygon points. I'm just mapping that round so it roughly fits the balloon. Okay, so don't go outside it too much. So we've got this kind of balloon shape with the polygon. This is the collision area for our balloon. There's one other thing we're going to do, and that's the image point. So the next tool up, we've got image point. Now at the moment we've only got one image point. We'll only need one, I think, in this game. So what we're going to do is we're going to click in the middle of the balloon. Okay, so that's going to help us, the image point is going to help us with the positioning of the balloon, but then also other elements that are kind of come out of the balloon. So when the balloon pops, for example, the bits of the balloon are going to go everywhere, and the image point helps us identify where that's going to go. Okay, so once we've done that, that's all we need to do. And then we close the editor. Don't close the browser. Can get a little bit confusing because they're so close to each other. Just close the editor of the balloon animation. Okay, so here we have a rather large balloon. So obviously it's too big. We're going to zoom out. Now to zoom out of the layout, it's a keyboard shortcut, and that is Control minus. Okay, so Control minus zooms out, Control plus zooms in. Just have a go at that, please. Okay, so just bear in mind that's in any website, in any application, whether you're in Word, whether you're in PowerPoint, whether you're in Chrome. Control plus and minus are zoom in and out. Okay. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to shrink this, but do not do this or this, okay? Undo, sorry, that was a shortcut for undo, Control Z, just bear that in mind. Whenever you resize anything in this game, hold down the Shift key, and so when you scale, it scales in proportion, okay? Because if I let go of the Shift key now, it does that. If I hold the Shift key down, it scales in proportion. Okay, so you let go of the mouse before you let go of the Shift key. All right, so I'm going to make that just a little bit smaller. Now, what we can see here is we can see that there is a dotted line here. Okay, so this dotted line is the viewing window for when we launch our game. This is what the user will see in the game. However, the game itself is a lot bigger than that. That's all this white space here. Well, we don't actually want all this white space. What we want is a large sky that goes all the way up the top. Okay, so we need to change the size of the layout, and then the window size stays the same. Okay, so stay with me. When I click on the layout, and that's anywhere in this white or grey area, what happens is I see the properties of my layout one. So here's my layout one. So I've clicked on my layout one. Sorry, shouldn't have double clicked there. Clicked on my layout one, and I can click here or I can click here. It shows me the same properties. And the size of this is 960 by 1708. That's pixels. So 960 pixels by 1708 pixels. Well, we don't want that. We know that this game is actually going to be 480 wide. Okay, so we can change that. So instead of 960, it's going to be 480. Okay, so we've got the width now of the game we want, but we want a different height. The height of the game is going to be 6,000 and I think it was 845. Okay, so 6845. So the width is 480 and the height is 4845. Now, if we scroll down now, what we can see is our game is a very tall game, which is fine. That's exactly what we want. We're actually going to be starting at the bottom here, and then we're going to be moving or floating up our game. What that means is we need to move our balloon down to the bottom. So I've just picked it up and I'm dragging it down, and actually it's going to be here. In reality, our programming is going to position it correctly, but for now, we just want to kind of get an idea of how this is going to look, how this is going to lay out. Okay, so if I click on this balloon, we can see that the properties, because we've clicked on the balloon, we can see the properties, its name called balloon. We can see its position. So X is 237. So that's the from here across is 237. That's how many pixels to that image point there. If you can see, if I'll zoom in actually, so you can see. So from here to here is 237 pixels. And then the next number is 6,593. Well, that goes from the top of our layout all the way down, that's our Y coordinate, to this image point, which this image point is 6593. Remember, any game, when you're programming games, you might be used to graphs starting, X, Y, X up here, Y across here, and you start at 0 here. Games don't work that way. When a screen redraws on a game, we're looking at the top left-hand corner, and it's going down on the X-axis and across on the Y-axis from the very top left-hand corner. Just bear that in mind, okay? Because that helps you because we're going to be moving things around, and if you don't grasp that now, it's going to kind of be a little bit confusing. Okay. We can see the size. You can type these in, but it's not important. That's fine. Okay, so at this point, we can click save. Okay, so we've saved that and we've successfully saved that. Okay, so we've added our first graphic. In the next video, we're going to add some behaviors and then add some more graphics.